So, hey all, I hope everyone's having a good December. It's getting close to Christmas, about 15 days away now, and we have our Christmas tree up. Here's a quick look at our decorations and our Christmas tree, and of course, our usual custom stockings, which were made a long time ago by a friend of ours. Um, they're custom, they're semi-delicate, so I'm always very careful with these. We don't put a lot of stuff in them. uh I think it's the kind of thing that's like they're really art more than I guess functional. I mean, they obviously they work as stockings, but don't stick like big things in them and stuff. I just make sure I want to take care of them as long as possible because they really are pretty unique, and it's the only time I've ever seen anyone really offer them. And it's not something you see that often in the fandom, which you think would be more common, perhaps something similar, if not the same thing. But in any case, Christmas is, I guess, on track. I don't know exactly what our plans are just yet, but we will see. Odds are we'll probably be spending Christmas, at least Christmas morning, at our house, because I'm not going to visit mom for Christmas. But the plan is to go after in mid-January when things are a little quieter in terms of travel. Because I just keep seeing all the news broadcasts about expected holiday delays, and I'm hoping to avoid all that by putting off my trip for a couple weeks. Because I do definitely want slash need to see my mom and the rest of my family as well. Just if for no other reason than it's the first time that I'll see them since I've officially transitioned. The plans were, of course, to go as I traditionally did every winter. But of course, as we all know, COVID was one of those things, and unemployment was the second year, which I'm sure my mom would have bought me a plane ticket, but it was another, I guess it was just lack of planning, perhaps more in the second year. But I need to make it happen because I really, it's important that I go see family at least once a year, just for obvious reasons, just because I need, it's one of those things you need to do, on multiple levels. So but it is happening. I have to get in touch with mom and make sure that she is making those arrangements because we have about a month now from when I would be flying. And I mean, it'll be good. I think I still, I guess I have a little bit of trepidation because I know my parents probably will have been pretty accepting, but I don't know if it's like it's one of those things that would have clicked in their brains yet, if that makes sense, because they don't see me in person very often, and my I haven't really changed my voice or anything, so I don't know if they'll be remember to call me Lauren and all that stuff, and if not, at least initially anyway, I am flexible on that point. It's just it's as long as there's effort and all that stuff, but I'm kind of hoping that I have the same luck that Janie did. Mom is like super supportive and stuff all about all that, but we'll find out, I guess. I'm also kind of a little uncertain about exactly what kind of uh how my sister will take it. I mean, she knows. It's like everybody knows, or at least my immediate family knows. I don't know if my extended family does, but I'm sure they've told them. I kind of chickened out by not telling most of the family directly, but um, I don't know. It's like my sister and I haven't really been super close or gotten along for a long time. And it's not like we hate each other. We don't. But it's just one of those things like we're just not super involved, I guess, with each other, if that makes sense. But, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But in writing news, I can say that I finished what I intend anyway to be like a sort of Halloween short story. It is set in the Winterfell universe. It kind of was based off of an idea I had when I was kind of come up with a Halloween story, because I always seem to come up with these things after the relevant event, and I guess it's part because I am not great with deadlines. I don't like deadlines. I don't like the pressure of feeling like I need to produce something good. And it seems like it's easier for me if I know that the time is not a factor, at least not an immediate factor. And it's I think it came out well. I had somebody test read it, and it seemed like they thought it was pretty decent, or at least I didn't get any things I needed to fix, which I think it managed to thread the line because I was trying to keep reactions realistic and also avoid interjecting any especially supernatural elements. Nothing. I mean, things I tried to kind of leave things like ambiguous as far as what the actual situation was, because sort of, I guess, open to interpretation, because I was inspired by one of those little, I guess you might call it a vignette. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but one of those little moments from one of the Fallout games, which I remembered picking up a distress signal, and you go and track it down, and you can actually find the source of the signal. But of course, what you don't know at the time, even though you might anticipate, is that the signal is not quite what you expect. But I don't want to say any more, just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe you do, but I don't want to spoil the story, so I'm not going to say anything further on that. But I did finish it, and I started working on something mostly just because I got a moment of inspiration. And I'm sort of doing the thing I said I wouldn't do, which is working on a story that is set, well later down the line, that I kind of don't want to release early because it'll sort of spoil some stuff. So I mean, but I'm trying to, at least for now anyway, strike while the iron is hot, work on things that I at the very least work, finish, and have ready, or something like that. But I'm trying to keep more in finishing working on things that I can release, and I do need to do that. I need to just kind of, I guess, release them as I go, rather than trying to wait for the perfect time, or just hanging on to them because I end up finishing things and just not releasing them. I guess just because of that old hesitation I have about not being able to produce stuff regularly or with any kind of predictable frequency, and I guess that in itself kind of makes it harder to do that, but we'll see. I need to, but anyway, I'm finishing things. So there is that. I finished a couple of short stories, and I have a couple that were already finished that I kind of need to decide, if they line up with some tweaks I need to make, because I need to change some things in some of my other projects for them all to make sense. And it's all stuff that I'm trying to work on, and we'll I need to get like a single solid definitive plan so that I can start releasing things on a more steady basis. In video news, I am working on a vlog, as you can see. I always do a vlog every time I sit down to record, because that's like every 2 weeks. And let's see, I think I have a book review finished in terms of the audio recording and the script. I just need to do the video and the editing, but I think I might blow that off this particular time to work on other videos, and sort of just maybe see, maybe try and get into a pattern of like every other session, like do book review, and then do whatever else, because the ideal goal is with 52 videos a year, 26 of them are vlogs, and that leaves the other 26 to be broken down into other categories. And I would like to spend at least probably 12 of those on book reviews, one for each month, and 12 of those on other topics. I don't know, writing character profiles, literary advice, con advice, things like that. And I still need to get better about having a stock of ideas to draw from for what to work on, just to sort of get that into a steady stream. Because when I work on things regularly, I find it's easier for me to keep doing that. And it's always the anticipation or the expectations, or sometimes, just, I guess, maybe some misplaced, I guess, when I see people are doing things and it's like I should be doing things, that thing. I don't know if it's envy exactly, but it's just that feeling like you need to be productive, and it kind of ends up being misdirected into stress that you're not, even though, um, if you just balanced it out with everything else, it would probably, be less of a pressure. Um, but in video news today, I think I will probably just work on this vlog, maybe on something else. I mean, I'm kind of going to just see where the wind takes me today because I meant to have a plan, but I really don't. I have one idea for something that I might work on because in the writing chat I'm in, I saw people talking about their, the furry starter pack. If you log on to the furry MMORPG or something, like the default setting for your character creator is Fox or something, and I'll probably talk about my origin story a little bit. I don't remember if I did. I might have to check my YouTube history to see if I've already done that video, but I don't know. Anyway, if not, I'll work on that. If so, I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with something else. But let's see. Okay, so in books I am reading, I'm still working on Star Trek Picard's Second Self. I'm still reading Squirrel Girl, and I'm still reading Gideon the Ninth. And unfortunately, and this will bleed into the next topic that I'm about to cover, because unfortunately I don't really have a lot of news to discuss for this particular topic because my tablet died. It was working fine up until Thursday, and I even used it to watch some anime on Thursday at lunch. And because my current job, I usually take an hour for lunch, and I just watch a couple half-hour episodes or an hour program, and then I get back to work. But when I got home and I went to go check and see if the Netflix application had updated the new episodes, it was dead as a doornail. The power wouldn't come on. It wouldn't react when I plugged it into a fresh power source. Not like I thought the battery was dead in the first place. But, I mean, I don't remember how long I've had this tablet. It's at least a couple of years. But, I don't necessarily expect anybody to know this, but I pretty much use it several times a day, every day. It's got Amazon's digital assistant on it, which I use sometimes. And it's got I listen to podcasts on it, I read books on it, I watch media during lunch on it. So it's like I use this thing pretty much all the time. So I've ordered a replacement. I think it's the most recent edition of that particular product, and it should be in on Tuesday. So hopefully I will be back up and running before too long. But I had planned to sort of take this recording session off of book reviews anyway, just to try and balance the load a little. I mean, I'd say it worked out all right because I have a couple of flash drives of music in my car. One I have specifically for Christmas music, one I have for everything else. Which I kind of broke down just because I was like, oh, okay, I mean, I might, I usually like to decide based on my mood what I feel like listening to. Some days it's Christmas music, sometimes it's regular music, sometimes it's a podcast, and it really just depends on where I am at that particular moment. But unfortunately, my tablet is dead, so I should get a new one in, and I'm hoping it's the same size because I have a charging stand and a case for it that I just kind of take with it, and I connect it to the charger and it just kind of displays things whenever I'm not using it, like as a actual tablet. And I guess the last thing that I want to tell you guys is that I, out of the blue, I received a message from my old job, which I thought was kind of interesting because, I kind of forgotten about it. If you know about LinkedIn, I guess it's like the job hunting website or something, the professional like version of Facebook that everybody uses these days. And during my unemployment, I had created an account there because apparently it's the thing you do, I guess, for people to professionally connect with other professionals. Well, I got a message from a name I recognized. It was somebody from my old office, and I, logged into the website to see what it said, and they were talking about how they were looking to hire an administrative coordinator, and the person in question said that I was the first person that they thought of when they were looking to hire for the position. So, I thought about it, and I responded, thank you, but I'm very happy in my current position, and I'm not really interested in, relocating at this time. Because for one thing, I haven't been at my current job even for a year yet, which, I have sometimes thought has occurred to me just because I don't yet know the full cycle of events. It's like I've done a lot of the things that are done on a monthly basis, but it's like I don't quite know exactly the whole annual flow of my job at this particular point, just because I started in late February. So I guess in another 4 months, I will have had a full complete cycle, and I'll sort of have a better idea of, what happens when, of, everything that goes on more or less at different times of year. And I mean, I really wasn't interested even in the idea. I told them, like I said, thank you for thinking of me, but I'm happy where I am, and I got a response, basically said that they were, happy for me or things of that nature. But I mean, I have to say, and I know I've probably complained about this before with my last job. There was a lot of things that occurred to me after I had turned down the, I mean, not even like it was even an official job offer. I'm certain they would have made me interview, but among other things, I was kind of reminded of a lot of the reasons why I was glad that I left. It wasn't exactly like it was ever really a bad job per se, or that it really in itself drove me away. But there was a lot of things that went on in my old department that just were not super great. It's like there was the fact that my partner reminded me of this, that I had interviewed 6 times for 8 copies of the same position, which was the next level up from what I had been doing for the entire 13 years I was there. And despite the fact that I had told them on multiple occasions that I would be willing to take on additional responsibilities, that I would learn whatever needed to be learned in order to be a good candidate for this position, that I interviewed a bunch of times with people that I worked with on a regular basis, which was not the least of it, not the least bit anxiety causing. I mean, it's like when you're interviewing with people you work with all the time, it's worse somehow, I think, because you have to work with them afterwards, you have to work with them before, and they already know you. But I mean, you still have to go through the motions, and I understand that. But the part I don't understand is that over the course of like probably like 8 years, I think I interviewed 6 or 7 different times for 8 copies of the same job, and every time they would always hire somebody new. And they never told me why they didn't hire me for any of these copies of this position. They never really seemed to respond when I was kind of trying to learn more or take on different responsibilities. And it just seemed like they kind of just, didn't want to move me from my current position because they just didn't want to have to deal with, I guess, replacing me, or I don't know what it was, but but I just can't help but think that in 8 years, when they knew I wanted to move up, that not once did they ever sit down with me and say, in order to make you a good candidate for this position, here's what you need to do. Are you willing to do that? Or here's why we didn't choose you over the other candidates or something. I mean, maybe they just had better candidates come by like once or twice. But, ever since I started, I was told that the company that I work for always like to hire from within. And yet, for some reason, this place, they just never did with me. And I don't know why. I don't know if there was anything, but it was very frustrating. And that in itself was a good reason why I'm glad that I am not there anymore. Um, the job itself was a little frustrating sometimes. It was just like, uh, maybe it was just because it was the same old thing, but it was just like every day there would be the same routine, and it was just like always just trying to hope that the other shoe didn't fall with whatever was coming in onto my pile. And I mean, it was all right. It wasn't a job that required a whole lot of adaptability, but it was decent enough as far as the job itself. And I don't know. I mean, I a lot of things are hard to put my fingers on, but some of my coworkers, I kind of always had the feeling like I had to keep my shields up around them in that office. It's like I never do at this current job. Like, I always thought I wouldn't like a job where you were constantly doing different things every day. That is very much the case with my current job, which am surprisingly good at. It's like they love me there. I like it there. It's really nice. It's mostly stress free. I'm pretty flexible with my schedule. I can more or less kind of come and go as I please, within the office hours. So even when there's a huge emergency that drops into my lap, I'm usually pretty good about not freaking out and panicking. And I mean, it's steps in the right direction. And I think it, in large part, is because I know that the department likes me, that I like them, that everybody in this office feels much more genuine, much more professional, much more team oriented, rather than I'm caring about my responsibilities and only my responsibilities and not really looking in on you, that sort of thing. And it's night and day. And the other thing that also occurred to me about as far as my old position, even if I was interested in moving, which I'm not looking to change jobs because you guys know me, I don't really like switching jobs. My last job I stayed with so long just because I guess it was familiar. This job, I would probably stay because of all the right reasons, like loyalty. It's like I like this job. It's a good job. I'm good at it, and I think they like me. All the stuff that all the way a job should be. That you're working at. It's like I'm pretty satisfied. I don't dread going to work on Monday mornings. It's like some days I might want to stay in bed, sure, but it's not like, oh God, I don't want to go to work. It's just like, oh man, I wish I had a few more extra hours of sleep or something, that sort of thing. And it really does make a huge difference. It's like I'm a lot less stressed these days, I think, and I'm a lot happier. It's like I don't know. It's all good stuff there. I work with some really fantastic people. It's like I really do. It's a lot of them are very friendly, very fun to talk to. It's like I have enough, activity to keep me busy, enough socialization. I have my own office space, which, I'm customizing, and it's like, I really like it, and I have some great coworkers. But anyway, the other thing that also occurred to me about my last position, one of the other deal breakers, that was one of the things that made me glad to leave, was my hair. It's like, now, of course, some of you may recall that I have discussed the hair saga before. What happened with my hair at my last job, because just in case you don't remember, it's like when I was decided I wanted to dye my hair a little blue, like it is now, just a little blue in the front, and I don't, I think it looks nice. I think it looks professional, or at least just not, not nuts. It's not like I got a multicolored mohawk or something. But anyway, I went and looked at the policy. I did my due diligence. I looked at the appearance policy for both our office and for the university, and neither one said that you couldn't do it. So I went ahead and dyed my hair blue. I came to that office, and for 3 weeks, nobody said anything. Then finally, I get called into my supervisor's office, and he tells me my hair is a problem. And I don't really understand why. And I mentioned and I made my argument, it's like I don't think that's fair, because for one thing, I looked at the policies and it wasn't in there. It didn't say that I couldn't do it, so it's really like you can't really say that I can't now. And even if you change the policy, which they said they were going to do, I should be exempt because I did this before you guys changed the policy. And I guess they might be able to change the policy, just I wouldn't have been able to redo it, maybe? I don't know. But the fact was that the way they went about it always just felt very disingenuous. I don't know if that's the right word here. But it just felt very weird, because it's like it wasn't in the policy, and then they mention it, and it's just like I don't, you know, why didn't you just say something right away? It's like, for one thing, because I think, and maybe you could say that they were trying to come up with the right way to approach me about it, but it's 3 weeks. It's like you can't tell me that it takes 3 weeks for you to figure something out for something like that. It's like it should not have taken 3 weeks. It should have been like in a couple of days, sometime that week. I think if I was a supervisor and a coworker, employee of mine came in with something objectionable, like I'm with stupid T-shirt or something, it's like, you got to go home and change. You can't wear that to the office. And the first thing was the fact that it took 3 weeks. Then they said that they were changing the policy, and the policy that they were changing was the appearance policy, which said that you couldn't dye your hair a non-natural color. Now they told me that it was not targeted towards me, except I was the only person that it was going to affect. So let's see, what is it that term? It's like a law of proportional effectivity, or I don't know. It's something that like that pops up with voter suppression, where it's like the law may not on its surface appear racist, but the effect is much greater on minority communities, that sort of thing. And that's exactly what this was here. It's like you're talking about changing the policy so that you can't have non-natural hair colors. Well, I'm the only one that had a non-natural hair color, or at least that I knew of. And I think they worded it that way just because there are a lot of women in the office that dye their hair, various things, sometimes because it's turned gray, sometimes, just because they want highlights or something. But if they put it in that you couldn't dye your hair, that would affect every woman in the office. But if they put non-natural hair colors, well, that only affects me and only rules me out and solves their problem, which at least to me I found was just very, like I said, I mean, I'm a big person about a few things like loyalty, honesty, and directness. It's like if you got a problem, just say it, be straight with me, be honest. And it's like, I mean, you don't have to be a dick about it, right? It's like if if I'm doing something that bothers you, tell me, but don't assume that I'm doing it maliciously. It's like, don't accuse me, but just be like, hey, you're doing this. You just might want to be aware that this is offensive and so on. And we'll talk about it and we can work it out. It's like, I'm a flexible person, but, be honest, be direct, and just be clear with me. It's like, just, all this pussyfooting around that they did just bothered the hell out of me. And then, then they were saying that, it's like, I can't have my hair, no non-natural hair colors. And then, of course, it became the holidays, and then 2 months later we had COVID and we were all working from home. Well, at that point I just didn't really do anything about it. I just kind of just let it fade. And then around August the office let me go because of COVID related budget cuts or something. I don't know if they just wanted an excuse to get rid of me or whatever the case may be, but it didn't feel like when I was let go because of COVID that it was necessarily punitive, but it was just, I'll say this much. It felt like it was probably one of the only ways I would have left the job, because I was comfortable where I was, such as it was, and I didn't want to have to do the whole job searching unless I had to, and this situation made me have to. But on the plus side, it resulted in me getting a job that I'm much happier with, that I'm much happier in, and I think that all in the long run worked out very well. So I mean, it's one of those things that I think was meant to happen and needed to happen for me to do what I needed to do. Because again, I don't like switching jobs. I don't like doing the job hunt. I don't like the disruption. I like my routine. I like everything to be, smooth. And I just didn't want to have to deal with all of that. So, so that was what happened with my last job. And I know there was a bunch of other things. I could probably go on a talk for like an hour about the things that went on at my last job, to me, to other people, and various sorts of things. But suffice it to say that enough things went on at my last job, the way that they reacted to people, the way that they treated people, that it just, I don't know if I'd ever have a good enough reason to go back, even if they were talking more money, even if they were talking whatever. I don't know. It just, I never felt there that I was as comfortable as I am at my current job. So, long story short, it's kind of flattering that they thought of me, I guess. But at the same time, I have just no interest in and the more that I think about it, the more reasons I remember that it's not. And it kind of reminds me of like, I guess the normal human capacity to forget some of the bad stuff after time passes. But, it really almost kind of was like an abusive boyfriend relationship, kind of, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's inappropriate to say. But it was just this. I mean, and again, I don't want to say that the last job really abused me or anything like that. It was just more the sense that they do a bunch of stuff that just seems like it's unnecessary drama, and they could have just been straight with you. And yet, because they keep doing it, you're still sticking around for it for a long time. I was doing that with this job, I guess, and it's like it took them laying me off to break that cycle. But it was a good thing because it broke the cycle on their end, and I was just able to move on from that. But so that's that. But I guess that's it for now, and it looks like I've been talking for a half an hour about this. But anyway, I guess I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and we will probably be just at about on Christmas at about that point. So expect more holiday goodness. But that's it for now. So I will catch you all later.
Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. You can also find me on Twitter and a few other places on the web, or support me via Patreon or Ko-fi. Zebra hugs!